Right, agenda item number 1 is apologies for absence, and apologies have been received from councillors Davies, Lewis, Oliver, Sankey and Clucas. Are there any other apologies, or have we captured everyone?
Councillor Clump's on his way, he's informed me.
Thank you. Agenda item number 2, declarations of interest. Do any members have any declarations of interest for items on the agenda? I am not seeing any. So agenda item number 3 is minutes of the last meeting. Do any members have any comments, amendments to the minutes from the meeting of council held on the 15th of December 2025? I am not seeing any hands on that, so we now need to invite you to vote electronically on that one, please. So that is unanimous. Those are approved. I will sign those in due course and then hand them across. Right, next item is communications by the Mayor. So you will have seen, hopefully quite late published, the list of engagements that I've had. Deliberately, these are published so that council and the public can see the vast array of engagements that the Mayor is requested to attend. I would now like to move on to some really happy news, or a celebration. So we had the No Child Left Behind Awards a few weeks ago. Feels like that. I'm trying to remember when it was, but it's been such a busy time. But I wanted to bring the officers, and we invited all the officers involved. I think not everyone was able to attend, but No Child Behind. The awards made a huge difference to children in our council area, and I would like us as a council to extend our thanks to all the officers involved, and we have Richard and Maisie here this afternoon. So could I please ask for a huge round of applause for them? And hopefully, I know some people couldn't be present, but hopefully you can provide the feedback that this chamber is unanimously thankful for what you've done and for delivering those awards. There's also congratulations in order to Councillor Telford, who's now a proud father. So congratulations, Isaac. And then finally, a rather sad piece of news. Many of you will be aware that former councillor Barbara Driver recently passed. So Barbara and I never crossed on council. We weren't on council at the same time. So it's difficult for me to say anything other than to extend my condolences on behalf of the council to her family and her friends and those who knew her. Barbara was a Conservative borough councillor for Lansdowne Ward from 1999 until 2014. She was a former mayor for the municipal year 2011-2012 and an honorary alderman, and she was a member of planning and overview and scrutiny committees. So could I please ask that we stand for a minute's silence to remember? Thank you very much. Please be seated. Right, and we now move on to agenda item number 5, which is communications by the Leader of the Council. Rowena.
Thank you, Mayor. So there's a few bits that I wanted to bring to members' attention in particular today. And the government's launched a consultation on developing a spatial development strategy and has also asked for views on councils forming foundation strategic authorities as a forerunner to mayoral devolution. As a council, we've set a very clear preference for joining the West of England Combined Authority, as we believe both the economic and cultural evidence strongly supports us looking to our south, not least because I think we all feel part of the southwest and we do not look towards the Midlands. As leader, this is the case that I will continue to make to government on our behalf. And then the other one is alongside the reinstatement of elections, the government has announced up to 63 million in further capacity funding to support local government reorganisation. However, they've not indicated as yet how that funding will be allocated. Again, I will be lobbying on our behalf to make sure, and hard to do that, to make sure that Cheltenham's voice is heard for a decent share of funding. It remains a reality that LGR remains a huge drain on resources and a distraction when the real job is to be delivering public services. Since the launch of the White Paper back in 2024, I think it's safe to say that the whole LGR and devolution process has been a mess. But as leader, I will always fight for what is in the best interests of our residents. And the final one, Mayor, today really is in preparation for, which is a really good piece of news that I'm looking forward to sharing with you. So in preparation for the regulator of social housing inspection that this authority will have, we commissioned an external mock inspection, and yesterday we received some very encouraging positive feedback on the work we have done, not only to ensure that we are fully compliant with the consumer standards, but also to deliver on our ambition in our corporate plan, which says before the end of this term we will complete our housing improvement programme and aim to have a C1 rating. Whilst we might not be there yet, we are well on track. And I am sure that you will all share my thanks to Claire Hughes in particular for taking us to this point. And of course, I also extend my congratulations to Isaac and his family. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. So we now move on to agenda item 6, which is to receive petitions. I'm not aware of any, but does any member have any petitions they need to submit? No. So we now move on to agenda item 7, which is public questions, and there are 3 questions. I believe our questioners are here. Okay. So we have 2 questions from Mr. Trevor Wittenbork, who doesn't appear to be here, and 1 question from Mrs. Emma Nelson. So, Emma, do you have a supplementary?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm happy to take questions and responses as read, and I thank the Cabinet member for his comments. However, before I ask my supplementary, I would refer to my original question, and I quote, "How much has been allowed in the budget should any restatement of asset values or opening balances be required once the audit is completed?" And this isn't covered by the comments and response that I've already received. But moving on to my supplementary question, it seems as though you are explaining the current external audit problems in Cheltenham as due to the government audit process. But we shouldn't worry, because Cheltenham will be okay, because they will sort it out when they do the end of March 2026 audit. So given Bishop Fleming will not report on the 25-26 audit until early 27, what mitigation measures have been put in place to make sure there is robust internal auditing and accounting? And given the Cabinet member's comment, we have now carried out the full revaluation of our assets. Can he say whether that includes the airport? And if so, is this the reason why the sale of the airport is still very uncertain with many deadlines missed? Thank you.
Councillor Jeffreys.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There is no allowance in the budget. The assets were revalued. I'm just got the date in my diary here for you. 31st of March 2025. This is a paperwork issue from tracking to officers. It's about that communication with the auditors. And you say about robustness. I think the audit committee would be a better place to talk about that than me. So maybe you come along to the next audit committee and ask the question there, because that's where the more internal machinations of the audit process and those conversations with our auditors take place. There has been huge issues up and down the country, not just with the capacity with auditors, but also capacity with organisations like ourselves. You know, so it's on this particular topic of the valuations, it's a paperwork issue and not a cost issue. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. And that's the end of the public questions. So we now move on to agenda item 8, which is member questions. And there's one which is from Councillor Williams. Do you have a supplementary? Well, microphone, please.
Just basically saying thank you for the response from council, and will they look at if anyone sort of attacks us when people are, so it is on, yes, but if anyone attacks us, that the same sort of response comes back. You know, this is not. It is on. Sorry. Yeah, sorry, but I don't like not looking at you when I'm speaking to you. Doesn't seem right. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah. It's just saying thank you for your response, and will we sort of respond in the same way when anybody attacks us for what we're doing? Thank you.
Thank you. Leader?
Thank you, Councillor Williams. I mean, I will respond accordingly as and when those questions come in, I think is what is fair to say. I won't necessarily respond to everything in that particular way, but if questions are asked, I will always respond in an open and honest and transparent manner.
Thank you very much. That ends the members' questions. So we now move on to agenda item 9, which is the General Fund Revenue and Capital Final Budget Proposals 26-27, which is pages 37 to 206 of your agenda. There is a budget process flowchart which helps to hopefully helps to avoid any confusion of the process. So the time limit for speeches is relaxed with regard to the following. So the Cabinet Member Finance when moving the motion to adopt the budget, and group leaders when making budget statement on behalf of their groups. And that the Cabinet Member Finance and Assets and group leaders are permitted to speak more than once in the debate for the purpose of putting and answering questions. So what we will do is we will invite the Cabinet Member for Finance and Assets, Councillor Jeffreys, to introduce the report. There's no time limit for this. Invite the seconder to speak, and there will then be a chance for questions, and I will emphasise questions first. There will then be statements by the group leader, and we will carry on from there after moving to debate if there are, depending on whether there are any amendments. And then this one requires a recorded vote for which we will use the electronic voting system. So, Councillor Jeffreys, over to you.
Thank you, Mayor. Colleagues, it's my privilege to present the General Fund Revenue and Capital Budget for 2026-2027. This is not just a financial report. It's not just about tables, appendices or budget lines. It's a moral statement about who we are, what we value and what kind of Cheltenham we're determined to build. Budgets are about choices. They're about priorities. And in the end, really, they're about people. Behind every line in this budget is a real person, whether that's a family facing eviction, a resident waiting for housing support, a community group keeping a lifeline service open. We're setting this budget at a time of real pressure for local governments. Costs keep rising, whether that be energy bills, contracts, wages, homelessness support. Demand for services has not eased, and the need for prevention and early help has not gone away. Yet the financial and economic conditions in which this council operates remain fragile. And when the Labour Party came into government, it promised a reset with local authorities. It promised stability. It promised long-term funding. But the lived reality for councils like ours is different. Short-term thinking continues. Multi-year certainty has arrived, but in real terms, funding has fallen for Cheltenham. The deep structural problems in local government finance, in my view, remain unsolved. District councils carry more responsibility without stable funding to match. So warm words from Westminster do not stop families needing food support or worse, falling into homelessness. Announcements do not cover the rising costs of delivering statutory services. We need real resources and real change, not simply reorganisation. Now, I don't say this to avoid responsibility. This administration takes responsibility seriously. But I will not pretend the national system isn't broken, nor will I stay silent while local government works in uncertainty. Now, despite that backdrop, here in Cheltenham, we've not stepped back. We've not lowered our ambition, and we've not governed timidly. In uncertain times, seriousness is not a weakness, it's leadership. Under Liberal Democrat leadership, this council has chosen careful stewardship, ambition rooted in realism, and decisions guided by evidence and values. Others may offer rhetoric, we offer delivery, and this budget proves that. It delivers a balanced and legally sound financial plan because responsibility matters. It protects key frontline services because residents rely on them. It continues to invest in our capital programme because growth and regeneration do not happen by chance. And it safeguards support for the most vulnerable because fairness is not optional. Now, we've worked methodically and openly, examined spending closely, have found deficiencies and continue to do so. We've taken difficult decisions where needed. At every stage, we've asked one question: what is right for Cheltenham and our residents? We continue to invest in the town's future, in regeneration, sustainable development, stronger assets, and in positioning Cheltenham as a place of opportunity and innovation. Our ambition is simple: a town that grows sustainably, protects its most vulnerable, and gives the next generation more opportunity than the last. We also remain committed to climate action, not as a slogan, but as a duty to future generations. Equally, we support our community well-being, knowing that prevention both saves money and changes lives. And we've done this without reckless risks, short-term gimmicks, hollow promises, political posturing, or alarmist rhetoric. Sound financial management is not glamorous, but it is essential. Competence matters. Stability matters. Trust matters. Now, at a time when trust in politics feels strained, residents expect their council to handle public money seriously and responsibly, and this budget meets that expectation. But we must be honest, district councils cannot keep absorbing rising costs while national government delays and dithers, or dithers and delays, or both. If Labour is serious about empowering local areas, it must go further with real fiscal devolution, fairer funding formulas, and stable long-term settlements. Partnership must mean more than consultation and reorganisation. It must mean trust and resources. Now, in Cheltenham, we already play our part. We've shown we can manage responsibly, and we've shown we can innovate. We've shown we can deliver. Past and present Liberal Democrat administrations have maintained fiscal resilience, delivered balanced budgets year after year, protected the services residents rely on, continue strategic investment in our town, and governed with openness and integrity. And this is not rhetoric, it's a fact. Do they still count? I'm just checking because social media may have cancelled them. This budget is prudent, but not passive. It's careful, but not stuck. It's ambitious, but firmly grounded in fiscal responsibility. We choose that responsibility over rhetoric. And we choose Cheltenham's long-term future over short-term politics. Cheltenham will not stand still, even in difficult times. Values still matter, and this council, under this administration, is not only managing the present, but we can continue to shape the future. But thank you, Mr Mayor. As always, my cabinet colleagues are on hand and there's officers available as well. I'm happy to take any questions, but I commend the proposals for 2026, 2027 to you, Mr Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And who is seconding?
Sorry.
Are you seconding, just reserving your remarks?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I will second it and I will reserve my right.
Thank you very much. Right. So we now move on to questions to the Cabinet member. So do any members have any questions to the Cabinet member on the budget? Okay. Keep your hands up. So Councillor Healy, if you go first, and I will then come to Councillor Chandler and Councillor Clark. There we go. And I'm not seeing any of those. So Councillor Healy.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Jeffreys. One of the themes that you described in your speech was uncertainty and the constrained budgets that we're working under. Obviously, this council is making a huge investment into Golden Valley, which comes with natural risks. What assurances do we have nationally, as Golden Valley will have an impact nationally as well as locally, that we will be supported in that endeavour?
Councillor Jeffreys.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I think it's quite a complex project and a long-term project, as you know. I think financially, I think the government could do more. I think we have had some funding, but it is, like I say, a huge commitment by this council on behalf of the residents of Cheltenham. Now, we do get some of those rewards, clearly, for an investment, but as you say, there's a regional and national benefit of this investment that we're making. So I would like to say that we'd like the government to do more. I know that the leader lobbies regularly with officers and the GV team to do that. So I can only give you the reassurances that we are trying the best to leverage what we can out of government. But I agree, I think the government should do more. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Chandler.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillor Jeffreys, I'm just looking through the papers. I've noted that on page 203, which is Appendix 15, the section on movements from the original to the revised budget, there's a revised overspend in the planning income, and I just wondered if you could explain why there would be a projected overspend in planning. Thank you.
Councillor Jeffreys.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm happy to hand this one off to one of my cabinet colleagues. We'll have the detail, I'm sure.
Councillor Collins, over to you.
Thank you, Matt. I hope you remember last time when I stood up to address you, I was struggling a little bit, but I wouldn't say I feel like a new man, but I do have a new hip. Okay, so that was a lot easier than last time. So the variance on planning overspend, right. 263,000 is the number, and that is due. We've basically restructured the department over the last 2 or 3 years. You remember last year, even the year before, we were struggling to recruit planners, senior managers to our staff because there's a national shortage, which there still is. But we've not only managed to recruit and fill those vacancies in most of the cases, but we've also reorganised the department. So we've got policy development managers, we've got an officer who is dedicated to looking after our Section 106 contributions and how that money is received and spent. And there's also a planning application validation officer now as well, which is completely new. We didn't have those posts before. So if you look at this over the last 3 or 4 years, we probably had underspends in previous years, but this year, because we've taken these people on and are now on the payroll, it looks like an overspend, but it isn't. If you look at the last 3 or 4 years, it's probably neutral. But just this 1 year, if you stand alone this 1 year, it does look like there's an overspend, but it's not really an overspend. Is that okay? Yeah.
Thank you very much. And we now move on to Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Mayor. Sorry, I'm on the same subject actually, because I'm on the planning committee. There's an underspend in building control. And as you know, I get jolly cross about people not obeying the planning rules. So why are we not, because they're very good officers, why are we not using them more? Why is there an underspend in building control, please?
Councillor Jeffreys?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll hand off to my cabinet colleague again for the detail. Thank you.
Are you picking on me today then? Right. All right, so the last one was an overspend projected. This one is an underspend. And I actually, oddly enough, I was sitting with the building control team last week, and I was quite surprised when I went through these budget papers to see that. But the explanation is quite clear that building control is a shared service with Tewkesbury, Borough Council and ourselves. So we look after all building control within the borough. But it's also a commercial service. So we go outside of the borough, we go to commercial developers that have nothing to do with Cheltenham, and we get an income from them by charging them for our services. Now, I think the phrase used was our market share in building control here in Cheltenham Borough Council has gone through the roof. So we're getting an awful lot more income than we were budgeted for, that we were expected. So we have to set a budget, what this service is going to cost us to deliver each year. But so far this year, we've had a lot more income than we were expecting. So we haven't spent the budget that had been planned, which is why we've got an underspend at the moment. That could change because it's done on a quarterly basis. That could change. But at the moment, we have an underspend. And that's the reason that we were given by the officers who look after the team. Yeah, it is good news because we've got a lot of very highly skilled officers in that team that have go out and they do all sorts of qualifications, and we are sort of making ourselves a bit of a, we're getting ourselves a bit of a positive reputation. So people want to come into Cheltenham and to use our services from Cheltenham Borough Council, which I think is really good because it's something else that puts Cheltenham Borough Council on the map. So it is good news. And underspend, yeah, I get the point of the question. Because it's as if, well, why haven't we spent the money? But well, we have, because we have more income. Okay? Is that all right?
Thank you very much. Before I move on to the next set of next opportunity for questions, do any other members have any questions for the Cabinet member? I am not seeing any hands. So we now have an opportunity for members to ask the Head of Finance, John Whitlock, any questions on the Section 25 report, which is Appendix 2, which is pages 55 through to 61. So does any member have any questions on those? I am not seeing any hands for that. So I would like to very much thank our finance team for the delivery of this. Given the current circumstances with, as we remember, the tragic loss of our Section 151 officer, Paul Jones, and also with our deputy, Gemma, being on maternity leave, that team, I think our auditor said it was an unprecedented situation the council has been in. So I think we would all put record our thanks to the finance team for what they have delivered under very difficult circumstances. And fortunately, there are no questions for you, so we will move on from that to statements by group leaders. So if I can invite Councillor Joy, please, for the Green Party group.
So I'm quite conscious I'm not the group leader, so I'm just filling in for Councillor Davis in this regard today. I would like to just start by also acknowledging the continued economic disruption and uncertainty that we face. It's incredibly hard pitching a budget given sort of any kind of financial straitened circumstances, but particularly with so much uncertainty and even still recovering from COVID, I almost feel. We, the Green Group, would like to take this opportunity to welcome this budget, particularly the standstill nature of it. We don't have any amendments to suggest to it in this case because I'm an active participant on the Budget Scrutiny Working Group, which I've massively enjoyed being a part of. They're a very, very dynamic and inquisitive committee, and I think we get a lot out of it. We're still trying to refine our process a little bit to see if there are kind of more proactive suggestions that we make along the way. so that we don't leave it to the last minute to make amendments or suggestions. So I feel kind of excited about the possibilities of that. But just being able to examine things as they come in, I think that's been a really welcome opportunity, and I've been doing my best to submit ideas as part of that. We did want to say that there are a number of elements of this budget that we particularly welcome. Seeing the extension of the working age council tax support scheme that extends the income band levels for families of more than 2 children. Just the fact that that aligns well with the removal of the two child benefit cap, it's really nice seeing that alignment there. We're very, very happy that we're still committed to net zero by 2030. Of course, you could probably imagine that we'd be excited about that. But the fact as well that we're providing for our highly valued officers and staff members as well, with pay increases to ease through inflation is just really good that we can retain the best talent possible. So just given the circumstances, particularly with local government reorganisation, it was really wonderful hearing Councillor Hayes note that she's going to be campaigning for us to get certain funding as a relation to that. Just the fact that there was never a manifesto commitment for Labour, and yet suddenly we had to find extreme amounts of capacity to accommodate it. So, I do believe that we're doing our best to deal with it. So I very much appreciate it. My personal aim is to vote this budget in. Looking forward to the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I just need to check.
It's not technically a group, so you could, if you want to afford them the opportunity, you can say, well, we're not technically a group, if you would like to say something. Yeah.
So I'll just conferring with the notes. So Councillor Smith, whilst as a single councillor, you're not technically a group, would you, in terms of the law, would you like to make a statement on the budget?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I much appreciated. I've read through the article. I've got to sort of congratulate Councillor Hay for her hard work in everything that they've done, and Councillor Jeffries for his work. I think that the budget's fair and improving, and I think that I should be voting for this as acceptable. Very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So in the absence of any amendments, I would now like to invite Councillor Jeffries to formally propose the budget with no speech. Thank you.
I'd like to formally propose the 2026-2027 budget proposals, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we now move on to member debate. So if anyone would like to speak, so I'll start with Councillor Day. If you keep your hands up, and I will then notice as we're going round.
Thank you, Mayor. One item I particularly welcome in this budget is the growth investment in the Green Spaces team. In my view, the Green Spaces team are the best ambassadors that this council has. I very much myself enjoy helping the friends of QE2 Park, and they're supported, week in, week out by the Green Spaces team with expertise, tools, and most importantly, tea and biscuits. We recently planted trees, including doubling the size of the community orchard, and things like that very much support the objectives of this council, as we've heard, 2030, net zero, we've got a tree strategy, and that is work that these guys are doing. So I really applaud the council for putting their hands in their pockets and finding a bit more investment to help fund them. And I also encourage members, if they haven't already, to read the excellent annual review of their activities put together by Georgie, and also to get involved. Get some of those tea and biscuits for yourselves if you haven't already. And I think, as many people know, I'm an accountant by training, and the team also tick that box. Really, they are enablers helping volunteers who supply a lot of the labour that is going into improving our parks, and also acting as project managers and experts, but on the back of those volunteers going out and raising money. So I would estimate that conservatively, the impact of that team on our town is probably 15 times more than the actual cost to the council. When you factor in, what if we had to pay for all those hours of volunteer time? What if we had to find within the council's resources, which we've heard from Councillor Jeffreys, are stretched? No thanks to the national government. What if volunteers weren't able to go out and get those grants? What if we had to find that money? I think if you added it all together, the cost to the council would probably be about 15 times what the Green Spaces team are currently costing us. So thank you very much. And I look forward to being back in the park soon and helping to spend some of that money.
Thank you very much. So on my list, I've got Councillor Baker, Councillor Horwood and Councillor Boyes. Is there anyone else wishing to speak? Right, so Councillor Baker, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's opportune that I should speak just after Councillor Day, because with my Cabinet member hat on for Parks and Open Spaces, I wanted to draw specific attention to a budget which is a very challenging budget to produce, but we've managed to get some growth in there. And the growth that Chris referred to is the Green Space Volunteer. Now, all councillors would have received this newsletter earlier this year, and there are over 20 groups in this town who are working throughout the year to improve our parks, gardens and open spaces, saving, as Chris said, an awful lot of money for this council, but also providing an opportunity to improve mental health, to get some fresh air and to keep fit. So these groups are amazing, and I would encourage councillors to get involved with your local groups. They do a great job, they really do. So it's great that we've been able to find room in the budget to employ Georgie now on a full-time basis. So we've now got two full-time officers who will be managing and looking after these Green Spaces teams. And what we're looking to try and do is expand the number of groups and take them and create new groups in parts of the town where they don't currently take place. The other thing in the growth budget was some additional money for planned maintenance. And I think when you look at our town, what are we famous for? We're famous for our Regency buildings. And the Borough Council is responsible for things like Pitfield Pump Room, the Town Hall, the municipal offices, the Gallery Museum. All of these are really awesome buildings that do require a staggering amount of maintenance, as we know. So hence it's good that we've been able to increase the budget for planned maintenance to help us look after our buildings in the way they should be. Never enough, of course, but we try and keep up. And just in terms of the capital budget, I think it's worth making some references here. We've got £134,000 for investment in our allotments. Now, allotments in our town are really, really important, and we have got a long waiting list. So one of the things we are doing at the moment is creating extra plots in our allotments, which is really, really good news. And that's ongoing as we speak. We've also got money in there for play area enhancement, and we know how important it is to enhance play areas across the town. And some money in for Stamford Park toilets. Hopefully that will be spent in the coming year. That's been in the budget for some time now, but hopefully we're in a position to actually be delivering that soon. And I did just finally want to make mention to the Golden Valley, and as was alluded to earlier, a big percentage of our budget is devoted to Golden Valley, and with very, very good reason. This project is going to generate thousands of jobs for my children, your grandchildren, our friends' children's over the years. Good quality jobs, which was what we need in Cheltenham. Because one of the problems we have in our town is young people moving away to work elsewhere. We want to be providing those quality jobs here. The Golden Valley Project will do that in the right sectors too. And on top of that...
Baker, can I ask you to bring your remarks to a conclusion, please?
And on top of that, we'll be building lots and lots of affordable homes. And the outcome of all this development is that it will be generating revenue for our town going forward in terms of business rates and council tax revenue. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. So I know Councillor Horwood.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I'd first of all like to thank Councillors Day and Baker for nicking most of my speech. But I'm also going to talk about the growth bids. And actually, I rather congratulate the Cabinet Member for Finance for finding any growth bids at all, given the unfair funding formula that's been handed down from government. I think it's an achievement and a reflection of how well managed the finances in this council are. The one growth bid that hasn't been mentioned so far was on marketing. I think Fran Inman and the Cheltenham Business Improvement District do a stellar job, and I would like to take this moment to congratulate them. And I'm sure when they take part of that marketing function in-house, they will also do an equally good job with that. They do a great job on behalf of business in the centre of town. But I'm very pleased that the investment is there to maintain the current marketing establishment in-house as well, to encourage inward investment and the rest, because I think Helen Mole and the team in-house have also done a fantastic job. So I'm very, very, very pleased to see that. But on the green spaces, which I also want to talk about, and I'll try not to repeat the points already made, I think it is really important that we do continue to invest in this, and I'm very pleased that's one of the growth bids. I think Adam and the team do a fantastic job, and I'd like to thank them from Leckhampton, certainly, for the work they've done supporting organisations like the Friends of Leckhampton Hill and Charlton Kings Common, and the informal advice they've even given to the Daisy Bank Community Interest Company and others looking after green spaces in our part of town, and it's really appreciated. They often go the extra mile and up and down hills as well. And there was some recent research by More in Common, which talked about the factors that give people the most pride in their locality. And the single biggest contributor to people's pride in their locality is the green spaces. And I suspect in the case of Cheltenham, that rating would be off the scale, because I think we rightly regard our green spaces as the jewel in our crown. And the single most important factor that people singled out, which actually has been mentioned already by Councillor Baker, was their contribution to mental health. That providing places of space and calm and tranquility in an increasingly deranged world is just very important. And we put a lot of pressure on people, especially young people, and green spaces are an important contributor. And the research actually highlighted that it was young people more than anybody who really value those green spaces as well. But they make so many other contributions. We manage our green spaces very well for biodiversity now and for the nature recovery, which is great to see. And we also, it makes a contribution to cleaning our air, to reducing urban heat, to absorbing CO2, and therefore making a contribution to the battle against climate change. And it also provides free access to recreational space equally to everybody. So it actually contributes to tackling health inequalities as well. But I also would just like to finally say it also makes an important contribution to our local economy by making Cheltenham a good place to work, to live and to visit, and by contributing to reasons for businesses to relocate and to stay here and to make inward investment, but also to retain staff and recruit staff. It makes a vital contribution to our local economy as well. So I think that is money very well spent, and I commend this budget in general, but that investment in particular.
Thank you very much. I will remind members that it's meant to be 3 minutes for this. We've so far gone to 3 minutes 30 seconds for both of you. So there we go. So I now have Councillor Boyes, then Councillor Clark, and Councillor Dr. Lynch.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you. I have to say, I was getting a little bit concerned when we weren't getting any questions from the opposition to the Cabinet Member on the budget, but I am relieved to see that the Green Party members and the independent members want to support this really good Liberal Democrat budget. So thank you for that. Local government is at the heart of we're at the front line. We've been directly elected to deliver local services. We're the beating heart of local democracy. However, the funding that we receive from national government doesn't go nearly far enough. And I think we just need to recognise that. I had expected better from a Labour government in terms of funding to local government, the grassroots of local democracy. Year after year, local government gets less funding from central government to provide the critical services that local residents need. Funding saw significant reductions under the Conservative government to meet those needs, and I hoped a Labour government would be a breath of fresh air and support local government. That's not really happened. Whilst I appreciate the 3-year settlement brings more stability, that's a good thing, there remains structural underfunding of local government sector. But under difficult circumstances, that I've highlighted, our fantastic officers and cabinet have produced a robust budget that delivers for the residents of Cheltenham, putting their needs first. So despite the difficulties thrown at us by national government, we have before us a really good budget, and I'm really proud to support it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I now move on to Councillor Clark.
Yeah, Councillor Boyes has rather said what I was going to say. I wanted to say, at a time when I'm astounded by the negative right-wing attacking horrible division in our country, how grateful, I mean grateful I am that we have Councillor Smith, Councillor Joy and Councillor Foster agreeing our budget. It's really important to me because I don't like what's happening. It's percolating through all society. Division isn't necessary. Look, we've worked together. We've agreed something really important for our town. And that's why I think Cheltenham is such a wonderful place. It's a kind place to live. And we address the problems we have. And very quickly, I'd like to say the body blow from losing Paul Jones was awful, and how grateful I am to Jason Vaughan and Adele Taylor, who've stepped into the breach, and I'm also on the Budget Scrutiny Committee. I'd like to say to anybody who's worried about it, my goodness, they unpack and unpick everything. So we've had good working and harmony today that I'm really pleased to see. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I now have Councillor Dr. Lynch.
Yep, following on from what my colleagues have said, the budget attracts a lot of attention, as rightly so. So I would like to thank our members in the public gallery, all three of them. And one of the most recurring comments I see online is that the budget should be independently audited. Monday night, we had exactly that, the audit committee. I was there. We had 0 in the public gallery. So it is really important at this time that we engage in communities offline as well as online, not engage in conspiracy ideology, and really have democratic institutions, which we must engage in. If you want to get involved with your community, engage in those community activities we have, whether it's litter picking or green spaces, as mentioned. So people tend to think that we get some kind of luxurious remuneration for being councillors. Any of us here can assure you that is not the case. And those who, like myself, who lead litter picks, that is a cost sometimes out of our own pockets as well. So I just want to draw attention to that. Thank the people in the room, thank those outside the room who engage as well across the community. So that's all.
Thank you very much. And Councillor Telford.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Forgive me if this is garbled, I have baby brain. In my cabinet role, I've just thought really to reiterate what Martin said, to highlight how important that marketing growth bid is, and to have that in this for ensuring our events manager, Hannah, can continue to create some incredible events for our town. To be honest, I think they are really important for bringing people into our town centre and getting people shopping and using hospitality, which is great for all the businesses. Having the bid also doing work at the same time is brilliant, so we're working together, we're providing a lot. And also just for all of us, just have stuff to do. That's what people want to do. They want things to going on at Christmas and all sorts, and it's really, really helpful for that. And on the green spaces, with my previous hat on, I do have to reiterate what everyone said about how fabulous the team is there and how good it is to continue this volunteer organiser role. The volunteers do so much work for us, and the more we can support them, the better. And the green spaces team that do that are just genuinely brilliant. And living equidistance from QE to Cox's Meadow and Sanford Park, I've got to say, being able to push a pram around there and walk the dog at the same time is delightful, and it's a nice way, as people say, with mental health and all the sorts, to get out there and actually do something in your day. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any more members that wish to speak? I am not seeing any. So from the chair, I think I would just like to say a few things. Firstly, to thank the Cabinet for all of the work that they've done to get this budget here, and to thank the council staff across the board. Again, without them, this council would not deliver half the things that it did in such a good way that it does it. And that doesn't matter whether it's green spaces, whether it's the licensing team that keeps people safe, environmental health, planning, you name it, whatever this is being done by this council, we owe a debt of gratitude to our staff, and there will be some roles that the public don't see, those back office functions, things like cybersecurity, finance, HR, and again from the chair here, just to say thank you to the vast number of volunteers and community groups who give their time, their money, their effort to make a positive difference in this town. There isn't a great deal of money, and those contributions just make it go further. So I think from here, I'd just like to say thank you. With that, I now invite Councillor Jeffreys to... Invite the leader to sum up for her, and then Councillor Jeffreys.
I don't think I'd have the nerve to sum up, because as much as we get on together, I would imagine that Peter would like to be able to sum up on this. But I am delighted to be able to second this budget. And it's been a breath of fresh air, frankly, to listen to everybody's contribution to today's meeting, and positive contribution. You know, we all know that we can strive for more, but actually what we're actually delivering, as many of you have said, is on this particular budget, and within the limited finances that we have, is remarkable. And we should, each and every one of us, be proud to be part of this authority, and lucky enough to represent the people of Cheltenham. So particularly I'd like to say thank you to my cabinet colleagues, but also most particularly to Councillor Jeffreys. I do remember what it's like to be leading a budget at budget consultation time, and actually pretty much from December through to today, you don't have time to breathe. It's all full on. But behind that full onness for Councillor Jeffreys is, of course, the entire finance team. What I'd like to say is that what we did in December when we appointed Adele Taylor as our interim Section 151 officer, after the sad demise of Paul, we were so lucky to be able to appoint her. She's a highly qualified and experienced officer across many councils, and she's been practising since 1998. She's particularly good at helping councils who have found themselves with problems. Not that Cheltenham's got a problem, far from it. So we must be a bit of a breath of fresh air for her, really, in some reality. But so we were, as I say, very lucky to appoint her. She not only is a Section 151 officer, but she also is the lead finance representative on the Board of Members Network for Local Government. And she's also a local government and public sector professional of Solace. She's also a regular contributor to local government publications and also a conference speaker. So she's widely experienced and very good at communication, which I think we've all experienced since she joined us in December. But Adele is very new to us. She's done a remarkable job, but without the support of John Whitlock and with Jason Vaughan, who stepped into that void as well and has helped us with our LGR submission. And then you've got a whole team behind them. So I'm sure Peter will thank you, but I actually felt that part of my role today of seconding this budget, I really wanted to express my sincere thanks to. So I'm very happy to support this budget, and of course I will be voting for it.
Thank you very much. Right. Now, finally, we come to Councillor Jeffreys for any further comments and to sum up. Pete, over to you.
Thank you, Mayor. I haven't got a speech prepared for summing up. I never do that because I like to hear from the chamber. I'm not going to address individual members because I think you've all sort of overlapped each other really and touched on parts of my speech, whether that be the funding from central government, which is severely lacking, and the structural nature of the system we work ourselves in. So that's the negative I could bang on about, to be fair, but I'm not going to because it is heartwarming to hear such positiveness about our town. I mean, I know it clearly. I mean, I walk in the parks. Like Isaac, I don't have a family anymore, or I've got a little dog, but he doesn't walk very fast. So I fully appreciate all those positive comments. And rightly so. It's what makes Cheltenham unique for us and our residents. I could, thank all you individually for your positive comments, but I think you've all hit the nail on the head. So thank you for those positive comments. The Green Party, thank you for those positive comments again for the budget, because there are positives in this. It is tough times, so I welcome those positive comments equally. And Councillor Smith, thank you. As Councillor Clark says, there is a world of horribleness out there in politics or in the world in general, and actually just trying to do things on a nicer level. We are all human beings. We don't have to be nasty to each other. We may disagree. Okay, I'm sure on times, even with my colleagues, I disagree. Not with my leader, of course, clearly. Yes, so thank you, everybody. Lastly, there's a list of thank yous. I think they've all been covered. I won't mention Paul, because he's been mentioned, and I miss him dearly, and I'll end up crying again. The finance team that have stepped in, John, unbelievable amount of knowledge, and I'm sure members there that in chat with you understand that. And Jason, short notice you pivoted from a temporary to a temporary, I think, and with Adele coming in as well. And John, again, thank you for all your support as well. I would like to put on record my thanks. I don't think anybody's actually thanked them yet, and that's the Budget Scrutiny Working Group and Audit and Asset Management. They're key committees behind the scenes made of members of this chamber, and actually they do a lot of the work, I think, that actually enables the budget to be better. So I'm equally grateful for those members on those committees and all the hard work and hours reading the paperwork and so forth. It's challenging, we have those robust conversations, but without that internal challenge, I don't think the budget would be in the position it's in. So I welcome and thank those members. I think that's it. I would like to thank, obviously, the SLT and my colleagues in Cabinet and my for supporting me. Thank you. I commend the budget to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. And this is a recorded vote using the electronic voting system. So once it appears on your screens, could you please vote? Right, so that has been carried unanimously with 32 votes in favour, no votes against and no abstentions. So with that, you're going to need a glass of water if you haven't got one, Councillor Jeffreys. So with that, we now move on to the Housing Revenue Account, agenda item 10, final budget proposals 26-27 and the revised forecast, which is your pages 207 to 232. So again, we will follow the budget flowchart. So the Cabinet Member for Finance and Assets, Councillor Jeffreys, will be invited to introduce the report. The seconder will be able to second the motion and may reserve their right to speak. There will then be an opportunity for members' questions, then statements from group leaders, for the formal proposing of the HRA budget, and then debate. And I will remind you, if you're thinking of your speeches, that the debate speeches for members are 3 minutes. So with that, Councillor Jeffreys.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It is my privilege to present the Housing Revenue Account budget for 2026-2027 and the updated forecast for the current year. Colleagues, if I'm teaching you something you already know, forgive me, but the Housing Revenue Account, or the HRA, is the budget for our council homes. It covers the rent we receive, the money we spend on managing and maintaining and improving those homes. And by law, it must stand on its own. So the incoming and spending must be carefully balanced. And at the heart of this budget, the HRA, it's all about our tenants and our residents. So it's about safe, warm and decent homes. It's about carrying out repairs promptly, keeping neighbourhoods well managed and meeting safety standards. Above all, it recognises that these are not just properties, these are people's homes. Now, we've shaped these proposals with tenant feedback in mind, our tenants' voices directly, but also through the Housing Committee. They've guided some of these priorities, and that partnership matters. I will obviously at the end speak about the Housing Committee, but I would like to put on record my thanks as part of this opening. My thanks to the Housing Committee, again, one of those essential committees, but has actually in the last, 18 months or so, worked extremely hard on behalf of us, the administration, on behalf of Cheltenham and this council, in bringing forward and helping shape some of these proposals. Now, we know many of our residents are under financial pressure. The cost of living remains high. It's not going any way anytime soon. This is why we've approached rent levels carefully, balancing the need to invest in homes with keeping them affordable. This budget protects the services that matter most while keeping the HRA financially secure. It ensures we can continue to meet legal and safety requirements and maintain homes to a good standard. It also protects the long-term strength of the HRA so we can keep delivering now and in the future. It's not only about maintaining standards though, it's also about investing in the future. The capital programme commits funding to improving our housing stock. This includes upgrading kitchens and bathrooms, improving energy efficiency to reduce fuel bills, investing in building safety and maintaining the long-term condition of our homes. And these are improvements that people see and feel in everyday life. They raise living standards, strengthen our housing assets, and ensure council homes in Cheltenham remain something we can be proud of. Also, let's not forget, we continue to invest in the supply of affordable housing in Cheltenham. More affordable homes are always needed. The revised forecast for 25-26 shows we are managing the account carefully despite rising costs for materials and labour. We've reviewed spending closely and planned responsibly to keep the HRA secure. This is a steady and sensible plan. It balances investment with stability, keeps tenants at the heart of decision-making, and recognising that council housing is not simply a service, it's a foundation for secure and settled lives. I commend these budget proposals to you, Mr Mayor, and again, I've got officers if need be. Unfortunately, Councillor Cooper is not here today, but I'll try and do my best to answer the questions. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you very much. And who's seconding? Mike, are you reserving your...
Yes, I am. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. So we now move on to questions. Does any member have any questions? I am not seeing any questions. So we now move on to statements by group leaders. Councillor Joy.
Thank you so much for inviting me to speak. I'm also very pleased to have been able to participate on the Treasury Management and Asset Management Committee. So again, with these, this is a really good opportunity for us to kind of learn more about the decision making behind the HRA, process of management. And I've really been very appreciative of being able to learn more about it and also to feed in ideas about it. I can see that sometimes there are tough decisions for us to make, but I feel satisfied that we are making the right decisions in a responsible way. There are several elements, again, that I especially appreciate about this HRA plan for 26-27 as well. It's really, really exciting to see things included now, such as hold on, I made a note. Just like disability access as well. There was a particular term for it, which I seem to have mislaid. But genuinely, like just being able to keep people safe and well in their homes and just make sure that accessibility is prioritised. It's really exciting to see that. And I'm really, really glad that we're dedicating the time and space for that, as well as the funding. Also, just the fact that we are making adaptations as well, not simply for disabilities, but also just for cost considerations. So I'm very proud that as a authority we have made decisions like this. So again, I just want to say thank you so much to the officers and the teams that were involved in this. It's really welcome.
Thank you very much. And again, Councillor Smith, if you would like to add any comments, please feel free.
Not really. The Green Party has virtually said what I was thinking, going to say anyway. So I just appreciate the work that's been done, especially towards affordable homes and the movement that we're doing for housing people.
Thank you very much. So we've done the question statements. So I now need to invite Councillor Jeffreys to formally propose the final HRA budget without a speech, as there are no amendments.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I formally move the Housing Revenue Account final budget proposals for 26-27 and the revised forecast for 25-26.
Thank you very much. And now we open this to debate. So I'll remind members that it's 3 minutes if you're speaking. Is there anyone that wishes to speak on the HRA budget? Councillor Took.
Just wanted to kind of make a statement as the chair of the Housing Committee. What is great is when you look at the numbers and the changes and the movements in numbers support what you know has been going on and what you've been trying to achieve. So there have been movements in the numbers, but that seems to be very much a reflection of the discussions that we've had in the Housing Committee about what needs to be done. I've been a critical friend because that's my role, and seen really significant improvements, which have increased cost at times, but we needed to do it. So I'm pleased to see that. I'm hoping that as we fully implement under Claire's leadership these stable processes that we have put in place, that will create more financial stability as well, because again, there is that connection between process and the decisions you make and the costs that come through. So I think we're in a good place. I think you've listened to the committee. The money that's been spent reflects what the committee wanted. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any other members wishing to speak on this one? Again, before I hand across to Councillor Collins, I think it's important for us to remember there's quite a... sorry, Bryony, do you want to speak? You go first?
I did, I thought I did, but I'll wait till you finish, Mayor.
Thank you. From my point of view, it's important for us to remember there's quite a correlation or alignment between the areas of town that are highest in terms of statistical deprivation, the indices of multiple deprivation recently published in 2025, and where a lot of our council housing stock is. And I think when we are looking at this, if there are things that we can do as a council to help those people with balancing the budgets, and it can be things like putting solar panels on roofs, improving the insulation of the buildings, but also the services that we provide. Because if people have got better housing, they're not having to spend as much on heating, then they can spend more money on looking after themselves. And I think things like that we may be able to do would be really, really important. It's also, as Mayor, I've seen this from going to some of the events being run by Cheltenham Borough Housing, Cheltenham Borough Council Housing, such as Enrich, and some of the work that the community investment and teams have done, because they are investing in young people. Those young people have taken young leadership courses. They've then come to the council chamber, to the mayor's parlour, and every young person that we can engage with and look after who, through no fault of their own, is potentially at risk of being exploited by adults who maybe are engaged in criminal exploitation. Every person that we can help through that service makes a really, really positive difference to someone's life outcomes. And that's when you see this in person, as I've done, and the outcomes, it shows you what a difference is being made through the work of Cheltenham Borough Council Housing. So again, I just wanted to put my thanks on record. Councillor Hay.
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to just take a moment to actually reflect of where we've come from and where we've got to. So Councillor Jeffreys mentioned in his opening speech that to our budget that, it's about choices. Budgets are about choices, and that's what this is as well. This is about a choice that we're making. We made a choice 18 months ago to decide that actually the best way to serve our residents in their homes was for us to take Cheltenham Borough Homes back in-house. When we did it 20 years previously, that was the right thing to do at that time. But time moves, and we need to evolve and change with that and grow. And actually, what I think, we should be really proud of what we've achieved. Nothing went drastically wrong with Cheltenham Borough Homes. That's not what I'm saying. But we've done better, I believe, than because we've evolved and changed with the times. And, you know, actually the budgets, you know, has already been mentioned, have increased, but actually not massively in comparison to what we're actually able to deliver our tenants now. And, you know, we talk about tenants, we talk about housing, but actually the bottom line of this is that what we've always said is that, you know, some of us are lucky enough to own our own homes. But what we do is provide homes for people. But this is about people's homes, not homes for people. We've put the people first. And I don't think we should forget that. That's a really important point, that this is about people and their homes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I now have Councillor Baker.
One of our key policies at Cheltenham Borough is building affordable homes. And I'm really, really proud that we continue to do that. And I think we must be one of the leading local authorities for building council houses. We've got a substantial stock, but we are investing in it and we are building new homes. If you look at the budget in the current year, the budget for new build and acquisitions was 16 million. Next year it's 22 million. 22 million pounds being invested in homes for people in Cheltenham, affordable homes. I think that is something that should be headlining our budget. That's a fantastic thing to be doing. And if you look over the last few years, we've delivered over 150 affordable homes for people on our waiting list. And that's, you know, people can moan about building on open spaces sometimes, but actually having somewhere to live is crucial. And we look at the Folly, that's going to start. We look at Monk's Croft, which is soon to start, Swindon Road. Some great examples there of new building in sustainable locations, which is going to be great for the people of our town, both now and going forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Atherstone.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Paul, can you turn your microphone off, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's quite similar to what Councillor Baker's just mentioned, but I think it's just really, really great to see in the capital programme the breadth of different housing tenures that we invest in year after year. So not only do we have the Monkscroft school site redevelopment in St Mark's, we have 320 Swindon Road, and we also have lots and lots of Section 106 purchases, whereby developers building houses all over Cheltenham, we buy into those houses too to provide affordable housing for residents all across the town. We also have, make purchases on the open market to secure affordable housing and other different types of schemes, including shared ownership and first homes. So I think we really are engaging in every possible way to provide great homes for residents of Cheltenham. So it's great to see.
Thank you very much. Oh, Councillor Pinniger.
Thank you, Mayor. I did want to just mention that within the housing revenue accounts is finally like a chunky line for the climate team, and that is social housing decarbonisation. And this time around, we're fitting heat pumps instead of gas boilers, so we're reducing the energy used. But also the schemes like Monkscroft and like Golden Valley, one of their aims is to get as close to the climate change SPD and the nature SPD as possible. So we're really pushing to, while we're building social housing, actually reduce the footprint of those and increase biodiversity, which I know is statutory now, but we want to go further. That's all I wanted to say. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Are there any other members that wish to speak? In which case, I will ask Councillor Collins to produce for his, it's not summing up, but his reserved remarks, and then I'll go back to Councillor Jeffreys.
Thank you very much, Chair. I'd like to start off by first thanking Councillor Jeffreys for presenting these HRA budget proposals, as well as the whole officer team, because I know it's not just down to you, Pete. Having been a former cabinet member for housing, I do know what goes into the whole process around there.
I would also like to thank Councillor Tuke's comments there for the work of the committee that you chair, because obviously that's quite a new thing. It didn't exist when I was looking after housing a few years back, but I think it has improved and strengthened the service that we deliver. Going back to what Councillor Jeffries said, I mean, he's already pointed out the one thing that I wanted to say, and that is that the most important people when we refer to the HRA are our residents and our tenants, because they too engage with us and they've got some brilliant ideas about how we can improve things, and they want to be part of that. They want to be part of that journey. I would just sum up by saying that this budget is both strong and robust, and I'm delighted to have the opportunity to second it. So thank you.
Thank you very much. And finally, Councillor Jeffries.
Thank you, Mayor. God, we covered a lot in this one, didn't we? From the whole climate to investment to people to homes and everything. But it is an encompassing topic of people's homes. When we look at our homes, you think about it. I don't know where to start, really, to be fair, but I just thank all colleagues, my company colleagues especially, for their kind words and observations. They're not wrong. I think we need to build more homes, but clearly I can't, because I know that colleagues want to invest in the homes we've already got. So the HRA is always a bit of a balancing trick. And I am grateful that the Housing Committee are there to help steer us. Like other committees in the Council, they do help steer us. We, as Cabinet, don't do things in isolation. We're doing it in collaboration, as they are the voice of our tenants. I'd like to also, while I got the chance, I could thank the finance team again, but I mean, they had enough plaudits last time with the last topic. But again, thank you, finance team. But I would like to really put on record my thanks to the senior officer team here, because it unusually the journey started some time ago with the housing services coming back into house and coming back in house, and they've worked extremely hard. So thank you, Claire, and thank you, Gareth, and thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. So again, this one is a recorded vote. So once the resolution appears on your screen, please vote. So I think there's 33 here. So, yeah. So again, that has been passed unanimously. 33 votes in favour, none against, and no abstentions. So we now move on to agenda item 11, which is the council tax resolution for 26-27. So again, could I invite Councillor Jeffries to introduce the report, please?
Thank you, Mayor. This should be a very short report, as colleagues will read. I'm sure they've read it, because it is basically the resolve. It's very short and simple, but the formal decision to approve the total council tax for 26-27. Colleagues, you'll be aware that that's not just ours. We don't take all the council tax. That's the Police and Crime Commissioner for the police section of the budget, and also the county council. I think from my memory, I've done the maths. I hope I've got it right. Probably not. Bob, so I'll generalise. Around about 11% is our percentage of the council tax. So I move the motion formally, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does this one require a seconder?
No.
No. Okay. So first point, are there any questions for the Cabinet member? I am not seeing any hands with any questions. So we now move on to debate. We're back to the normal rules with 3 minutes. Councillor Telford.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think I do this every year, but just following on from what Pete said about the 11%, or just under, I think it is now, because of the police changes, of the money from council tax that we actually take here at Cheltenham Borough Council. I think obviously everyone sees us collecting it and usually often thinks, oh, it's the council. But in reality, the police getting over 14% and the county council getting 75% or so. For a bandy property, that's about 250 quid a year that goes to Cheltenham Borough Council, which is obviously not an insignificant amount of money, but in this economy, I think it's increasingly difficult to stretch 250 quid to do almost anything. And if you had to pay privately to get your waste and recycling collected, I'm assuming that would cost you a hell of a lot more than 250 quid a year. Just one-off collections that are about that these days. And that's not on top of all the other things we do outside of just your bins. You know, we already mentioned earlier on all our green spaces and the fabulous, amazing things they are for our town, but we've also got all of our amazing culture and the funding we provide there, all of our well-being work, and substantial inwards investment for our town, things like Golden Valley, all these things that actually make our town succeed in the long run and make it the fabulous place it is and the place we love it to be and why we all live here. is those kind of things that are delivered all for 250 quid a year or so. And that's on, you know, ignoring all of the amazing work that goes into support people who really need it outside of that, that many of us might not need, but some people really do need, and this council provides. And I think that should be really, the work that goes into that, for that 250 quid or so, I think really should be applauded. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any other members wishing to speak on this item? I am not seeing any hands, so back to you, Councillor Jeffreys.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I always welcome Councillor Telford's input. It saves me a lot of trouble introducing the report myself. I move the motion, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
And again, because of the nature of this one, it is an electronic vote. So once it appears, could you please vote? It's a named one. Sorry.
Yeah.
There we go. So again, this one has been passed unanimously, 33 votes in favour, none against and no abstentions. And as a council, we should probably congratulate ourselves. Gloucestershire County Council took 7 hours to set their budget. We've done this, I think, we've done two budgets and a council tax in an hour and a half. So well done, everyone. With that, I will move us on to agenda item 12, which is the council order of precedence, nominations for mayor and deputy mayor elect for 2026-2027, which for me as a speaker is the reminder of the Latin phrase "sic transit gloria mundi." Thus passes the glory of the world. You are only in this seat for 1 year, and it's important to remember. So if I can ask our Chief Executive, Gareth, to present the report, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't have any Latin for you, I'm afraid, councillors. But what I do have is my usual introduction to the order of precedence. This is our annual paper that we have to take as part of the Constitution to ensure that we can appoint our mayor and deputy mayor, which will be put forward at the annual council meeting later on in the year. I suppose I would also say that as the years go by, this order of precedence takes on even greater significance with the prospect that we may cease to exist as a council in the years ahead. So this might be the last couple of times that we do this as we head towards local government reorganisation. So I'm just asking you to note the order of precedence, which is in Appendix 2, and that Martin Horwood be put to annual council meeting for election as mayor for the municipal year 2026-2027, and that Councillor Collins also be put to annual council meeting for his election to deputy mayor for the municipal year. Again, you're not voting to appoint them in this meeting. They'll be appointed at the annual meeting. This is merely to note the order of precedence and that these two people will be put forward as described in the report. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions from members? Councillor Harvey.
Not so much a question, Mayor. Thank you. More statement, really.
If it's not a question, can we wait until?
Oh, beg your pardon. Sorry.
Please. This bit's for questions. So, are there any questions? Councillor Joy.
I don't know if this is the appropriate forum, but there is a typo in Appendix 2. Councillor Lewis is listed as being in St Paul's councillor, but she's Oakley now, I think. Can it be corrected, please?
Thank you. We'll correct that.
Thank you very much. Are there any further questions? No. Okay. So we now move to debate. So, Councillor Harvey.
Thank you, Chair. My apologies. I should know what the blooming process is. I refer to the report at 1.3, the environmental and climate change implications. And this is a bit of a shout out to this borough, actually, because when I was mayor in 21-22, many people referred to Albert and the Daimler the gas guzzling Daimler that the mayor used to drive around in or whatever and so on, which is now in Kansas, by the way, for anybody who's interested. And one of the things I wanted to do when I became mayor was have an electric car. And it's not been put on the record at any time since that happened in 21. So I thought I'd put it on there now. So in terms of Mayor and Deputy Mayor will have a role to play in promoting the Council's commitment to a net zero council by 2030. One of the things that we did 4 years ago, 5 years ago, was change the gas guzzling vehicle we had and turned it into an EV one, which I believe we still maintain to this day. So that's what I wanted to say. But well done to the two guys for moving the way forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else wishing to speak on this item? Not seeing any hands, so I hand back to Chief Executive to make any further comments. Gareth, do you want to say anything further? No. So with that one, members are invited to vote using the voting system. This one isn't a named vote. Thank you very much. So again, this one is unanimous, 33 in favour, none against, no abstentions. So congratulations to Councillor Horwood and Councillor Collins for this indicative vote. With that, we move on to agenda item 13, which is the council diary for 2026-2027. So if I can invite the leader, Councillor Hay, to present the report, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll keep this brief. It's something we have to do every year, is set the council diary. It's quite a feat for our democratic services to do this every year. We absolutely do our best to avoid school holidays, half terms, etc. And clearly in August time, where the majority of people like to try and take summer holidays and have a bit of a break, we try to avoid as much as possible. Nevertheless, it's a bit of the logistics of organising that, with so many meetings that we have here in the council chambers of one form or another. So that's all I want to say, is a big thank you to Democratic Services for organising this and bringing this forward to us. We do all get the chance to have an input into it, but today is just asking for your support to support the recommendations for this year.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions from members on this one? I am not seeing any hands, so we move to debate. Does anyone want to speak on this item? I am not seeing any hands. From the chair, I think I would like to add my thanks to our Democratic Services team for sorting this out, bearing in mind that this hasn't been done in isolation, as there will be meetings related to the county council and other things occurring across the county that all have to be factored in. So I think we would all add our thanks there. Councillor Hay, do you wish to say anything further to sum up? No. So again, we move to the vote. So this is just a standard electronic vote. And yep, we've got 33 in favour, none against and no abstentions. So this one's carried unanimously as well. I will move on now to agenda item 14, which is the Community Governance Review Update, pages 265 to 276 of the agenda. And again, Councillor Hay to present the report.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, this really is just by way of an update, because we talked about this way back when, but we also talked about this and agreed in December last year that we would go forward with the second review, the second part of the governance review. the biggest update that I want, I mean, what's in the report is self-explanatory. It went live on the 24th of February with a questionnaire. So just encourage all members to speak to their residents and encourage them to support it. I think one of the biggest things for me and why this is so important is that at the end of the day, you know, Cheltenham Borough Council is not going to exist anymore. It's going to, we're going to go from 7 authorities down to 1 or 2 authorities. And the number of councillors that is currently around, you know, heading up, I think it's 298 councillors or around about the 300 mark, that will be halved. It will eventually go down to 90 councillors, which will leave people representing some 20,000 residents as a single councillor, which actually precludes what I would call inclusive behaviour. Well, it's inclusivity in terms of the fact that it will end up by just being those that either can afford not to work or those who are retired, and we won't have a demographically elected council, which actually doesn't do anything for the future. So my aim of doing this corporate governance review is that what we do is, and as actually, I think I probably would, I can't speak for the Greens, but actually I know from our own group and the conversations that I've had with Ashley, she agrees that actually devolving down to the lowest common denominator within a parish so that locals have a proper voice is really important. So I think we're you know, they've supported this corporate governance review. And Ashley's in fact, part of the working group. So, so please do encourage, because it's important that we have those parts of our town that are not represented by parish councils. We also, you know, I think most of us know that when we're on the doorstep, and if you've ever been to any of the mayoral events, our community loves to see the mayor. They play a really important civic role. And unless we look to the future to say that town council for everywhere else that isn't parished, that's the clear thing. It's not one big parish, it's a town council and the parishes. The details of all of that will come later, depending on the result of this second phase of this consultation. So, again, my encouragement to you to all talk about it to your residents and when you're out door knocking. There's lots of communications out there, and there's also hard copies. So, Mayor, that's all I would like to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So are there any questions from members on this one? Councillor Horwood.
Yes, I want to sort of preface this by saying I'm going to strongly support this when we come to debate, and I think it's really important. I just have a slightly technical question, which I would understand if there isn't an instant answer to. But in certainly Leckhampton with Warden Hill Parish, which I, amongst others, represent, there are some fairly minor and we think fairly uncontroversial boundary changes being proposed, which won't now happen in time for the parish elections due this May on this timetable. So I just have a question about how that will work in terms of whether the parish would then expand if the proposals are accepted after those parish elections, and how would that then square? Would the councillors elected on the old boundaries then represent the expanded parish? Would there have to be fresh elections, or would there have to be by-elections to fill additional vacancies, or how would that work? And if that's a rather technical question, I don't expect an instant answer necessarily.
Yep, great.
So, you're not the first person to ask, because it's obviously quite important to those parishes because they've got elections coming up now. And what I didn't say in that summing up bit really was that, you know, I've sort of separated the town council and mayor piece, and the parishes will run alongside the boundary reviews. So, in short, the changes to ward boundaries, then there's no immediate elections are actually required at that point. they could apply from the next ordinary elections. However, whatever the reorganisation is and is agreed upon by the parishes for the boundaries, etc., that we can specifically make an order that mandates that an early election takes place, and therefore that would just also form part of the consultation that will take part with the parishes. Does that? Yeah. Good.
That's great. Thank you.
But I think whilst I'm on my feet, Mayor, if I may, is just saying that I forgot in my, I'll save it. I'm being looked at now. I'll save it till summing up.
Are there any further questions from members? Not seeing any hands. Just as a technical thing, again, Parish, can you remind us about the impacts of having a parish or a town council on the SIL and the benefits of that going forward? I know that I'm sure there are some benefits on that.
So when you have, so parish councils will, in terms of and don't forget there's two bits of SIL. So you've got the community infrastructure levy. Shouldn't use jargon, should I? Or an acronyms. But so that there's a 75% pot that is for all of the strategic stuff. You've then got the more local neighbourhood community infrastructure levy, although it has to be said that that is also for infrastructure. It isn't just, well, let's have a new footpath. But if a footpath is part of an infrastructure, then it does include it. But there's quite strict rules on that. So any parish or any parish and anywhere that any parish that has a neighbourhood plan will get that 25%. Anywhere that has a parish will get 25%. This is separate to that community infrastructure levy, the bid that I'm talking about. So that's the difference. And a town council obviously would fall in under that. But that's yet to come, because we don't know whether we're going to have one.
Thank you. It's just useful for understanding the difference it makes. Are there any further questions from members? Not seeing any hands. So we now move to member debate. Are there any members that wish to speak on this? Councillor Atherstone and then Councillor Horwood.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank the leader for bringing this update for us today and just highlighting how very important community governance review is, and with the time frame that we've got, individuals having the opportunity to share their thoughts as to what they want to see for Cheltenham, our town. As has been mentioned, we have 5 brilliant parish councils around in Cheltenham, all around the edges of Cheltenham, and then the centre of Cheltenham and out to the west is predominantly unparished. So once Cheltenham Borough Council is abolished, then we want to make sure that residents have a very, very local voice and that we can hear them. And as the leader has just mentioned, number of council representation so far that government has said is going to massively reduce from potential 5 councillors per division down to 2. And we know how effective our parish councils are. We fund a town council would just have the same ability as a parish council to secure that 15% directly to invest locally. And I think it's really important that residents in Cheltenham have their voice to let us know whether they want that very, very, very local representation, which would either be lots of new parishes, although they are quite difficult to manage a parish, take a lot of resource and effort, or one sort of larger town council that would encompass all the unparished areas. Yes, this is a really, really important opportunity to let us know what you want. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Horwood.
Yes, as I said, I really welcome the community governance review, and I just want to make a couple of points in support, though. One is that I certainly commend the proposals from Leckhampton to include Pilly, which is already, I think most of the people in that area think of themselves as in Leckhampton already, and there is already a ready-made parish ward romantically called Leckhampton Undercliff, which is one little part of that, which is already inside the parish, and which could easily absorb the other parts of what is Charlton Park ward on the borough into the parish, which would be great. And likewise, the Bourneside area of Warden Hill, which actually includes Warden Hill, the rest of Warden Hill Road itself. I think those people are already in the Warden Hill ward of the borough, and it would make sense to include that in the parish as well. So I strongly commend those, hopefully uncontroversial changes. Second point I would make is just about the town council, where I think it would be quite useful for people's understanding to have a clear distinction in the name between that and the outgoing borough council. And because it would represent the spa areas of the town, and I think the name Cheltenham Spa has a historic resonance, I think it would be really nice to call it Cheltenham Spa Town Council, if that is acceptable to the Community Governance Review. But I do think it's a very important idea, because certainly having held the arts portfolio on the borough cabinet, I'm very aware that that is discretionary spending, and that the support we give, the generous support we give to the Everyman, to the Playhouse, to the Cheltenham Trust that runs the Pump Room and other venues in town, and to many other arts and cultural organisations, is discretionary spending. And I've now seen the county budget at first hand, where these elephantine budgets for adult social care and children's services of hundreds of millions put enormous pressure on the budgets of these big councils, which includes future unitaries. And I do feel that our arts funding might well prove to be a kind of rare orchid in the same room as elephants. And, you know, I'm a great fan of elephants, but they don't always mix with these small, delicate flowers. And I think our arts funding is enormously important to this town. And I think it might be safer delegated, as it has been in other unitary counties, to town council level. But that also does raise a bit of a financial issue, because I don't think it would be fair for Cheltenham Spa Town Council or Cheltenham Town Council or whatever we call it to entirely shoulder the burden for the whole town, including the other parishes, for that arts funding. And I don't think it would go down badly at all in my parish or in the others if they were asked to make a contribution to that kind of town-wide funding. And I think that's an important issue that probably does need to be tackled. So that's but I strongly support the review, and I think it's great that actually the leader and the cabinet and the administration have made time to think about this as a really important implication for Cheltenham of local government reorganisation.
Thank you very much. Are there any other members wishing to speak on this item? I am not seeing any. Councillor Hay, do you have any further comments?
Thank you, Mayor. Absolutely, Councillor Horwood. The whole very, very acutely aware, which is why the second phase actually talks about what a town council could do in taking on, because you're absolutely right, and it was one of the things that we've all been aware of. But until our community and our residents come back and tell us that this is what they want, it's no more that, you know, that, if you like, is the next phase. And I am acutely aware that, you know, I, as a resident, which would be in the new town council, would be very disappointed at the fact that those that I had to pay extra to look after all the parks and gardens because of where I live, that absolutely isn't fair, and it's not the intention, and I'm acutely aware of it. I think I'm really pleased that as soon as local government reorganisation was kicked off, it was like, well, what's going to happen to those of us that live in areas that don't have a town council or a parish council? And so we hit the ground running. It's an enormous commitment running alongside the local government reorganisation, because in itself, and you know, we've already experienced the slight delay in the way that the parish boundary review will take, and because we were all set to run it together and they will run alongside, but they're going to have to slip. Those particular boundary reviews are going to have to slip a bit because our elections team are relatively small, and hey ho, guess what? they're going to be involved in elections. So we've got to wait until after those elections because we need their input into this. It's them that hold the boundaries and the advice that we need from that. I do just want to correct myself on something before Councillor Horwood walks away from here thinking that he's going to get 25% and 25%. Because I made a mistake in as much as if you have a parish council, you get 15%. If you have a parish council that also, or even somewhere like Hester's Way with their neighbourhood plan, they get 25%. So Warden Hill and Leckhampton actually will now get 25% because you've just got your neighbourhood plan approved.
Not yet.
Well, it got approved at Cabinet. Cabinet gave its approval last week. I think, Mayor, please, everybody support this moving forward.
Thank you very much. So we now vote again using the electronic voting system. Is that everyone? Yeah. Yep. So that's unanimous again. Thank you very much. So agenda item 15 is notice of motions. There are none. Agenda item 16 is any other item the Mayor determines as urgent and which requires a decision. You'll be glad to hear there are none. The date of the next meeting is the 23rd of March 2026. And before I close the meeting, could I reiterate the request? Please return your cards to Democratic Services, and please, if you've got any cups or other waste in front of you on your desk, could you please take it away and put it in the bin? Thank you very much. Meeting closed.